Yeah.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? Welcome back once again. It is, I think, episode 174, 175, somewhere in that ballpark. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves an amazing guest, a legend in the solar community who is not very well known in the roofing community, but we're about to change that and we're about to actually make this man worldwide. So, without any hesitation, I would like to welcome the I don't even know the title I'd like to say, but I'm just going to say I'd like to welcome Josh Bostic of Solityx to Keepin It Rio. Josh, how are you,
Yes,
my
sir.
friend?
I'm well. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it. That was the best intro I've ever gotten. So thank you.
Well, I should have probably come up with something a little bit better. I should have had a title for you, but
I need an official title.
the
Yeah.
title will evolve as we go. By the end of this podcast episode, the next time by, someone's going to be able to give you this rousing intro. And my goal for today is to get them enough content to make that happen. So let's
Yeah.
do that. What do you say?
Yeah. I'm no roof don, but we'll come up. We'll come up with a title for me.
Well, hey, there could be an open competition for the Roof Don title. I can make that happen. I've actually my podcast from 2 years ago was me trying to promote a fight between one of my roofing buddies and one of my branch managers. So I've been known to try to promote violence in our industry, and if we could have the bloody battle for the title of Roof Don, and I could be the one that brought that to the people,
Yeah.
hey, whatever, you know.
Pay per view.
Yeah, nothing personal. We'll split the money on the back end. It'll be just like WWE. Everybody will win, and we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah. Violence is a part of life. Might as well be a part of business. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're in the trades. We're in roofing and solar, and much like roofing, I'm sure that you have some crazy solar stories. So let's start real quick though by telling me a little bit about your company. Tell me a little bit
Uh,
about Solityx. What's going on with this company?
well, most people have a hard time saying it. It's Solityx. You've nailed it.
I've
It's
said it
basically
3 times intentionally just so people would know. Solityx, bruh. Solityx, what's up?
Yeah, it's basically the word solar and analytics had a word baby, and it's Solityx. And so basically, we're trying to, me and my partners have been in the industry, at least a decade, all of us, and we're trying to bring some integrity to the industry, and we're trying to help as many people do good work as best we can. We do basically, in general, consulting. We do sales consulting. We help people get solar on their house and businesses. We've also overseen construction on very large commercial projects as Solityx. We did a 500 kW on top of a Lowe's in Coachella just recently. We've also installed an apartment complex that was 400 kW. Um, and basically, we're just trying to help fill in expertise where needed. Wherever we can do the most good is where we want to be.
I like that answer, and that's genuine. And I know that for a fact because I got to hang out with you for a couple days last month down in Houston, and I could tell this is a guy who actually cares. This is not and I love being able to say this because I'm in roofing and everybody looks down on roofers, but I can say this like, this guy is not one of those sketchy solar reps. He's not just trying to scam a bunch of old people and get them on like a 25-year loan. He actually cares about the people and actually wants to bring them true value and wants to change people's lives for the better. So let's talk a little bit about how you go about doing that, my friend. I know that there are many different ways for solar to be presented to people. I think that's the reason why solar has a bad reputation, quite frankly, is because I think a lot of people don't know what they're doing and they just say whatever comes to mind, and it gets a lot of people in trouble. So tell me a little bit about your process, about how you go about helping a client. Say someone calls and says, hey, I'm thinking about going solar. Take it from there, my man. What do you do for these people?
The best thing you can do is listen. Most people don't know as much as they'd like to about solar, including me. I'm always learning. I'm always expanding into new genres of the industry and trying to get more in depth into the areas that I already have, let's say, mastered. But listening to what they want what their expectations are, I think is very important. That allows you to first know if you can help them. Two, it allows you to uh, help design the system. It's not the only factor, but it's an important one.
Yeah, for sure. You need to know the details before you can put anything together and make it actually work. And that applies in roofing as well. You gotta, gotta see the roof to make sure that it can withstand whatever we're trying to do. And let's say that you find someone and they're a good candidate for solar. They live in a spot that's got good sun coverage. They're going to be able to take advantage of it. How do you go about deciding, or what kind of programs do you utilize that help you come up with the schematics for that plan for that specific system? And how do you guys go about designing the systems for someone's solar individually and custom for each home?
Well, you're gonna want to look at, of course, the utility data. You need to know how much they're gonna need for the year. Look at the utility policy. That has a lot to do with it. Uh, Different utilities are going to reward solar production in different ways, or not at all, and that's something that's very important. One of the cool things about being in a deregulated market like ours is you can actually kind of gamify your energy production, where there are energy plans where, especially if you have battery backup, you can make money on during times of extreme stress on the grid. I was working with somebody, he's an energy trader, signs people up for various energy contracts. And he was telling me he gets several dollars a kilowatt hour for production during these times. And things like that in our market, where it's a little bit of good news, because our utility is not super set up for solar, with net metering being the way it is here in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not ever designed for the consumer to make a profit if it can be avoided. I know that. So it's kind of cool that you can find these ways to help people save, what amounts to literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in unforeseen down the future inflation and things like that. And I think it's pretty cool. So I've been very, very lightly dabbling. I'm not in any way considering myself a solar expert, a solar provider, a solar anything other than a guy that talks to solar people on a podcast sometimes. And I'm trying to learn like everybody else. So tell me about some of the main objections that you have to overcome from homeowners, because I see a lot of people that are very skeptical. They're very hesitant. There have been a big wave of companies that come and go and literally are here one day and then they're like one of the best in the country and then they're gone the next day. So people are very hesitant. People are kind of concerned that this isn't going to be something that's going to work for them. How do you overcome some of these objections, and what are some of the popular objections that you hear that you get to overcome on a daily basis as a solar person versus being a roofer?
Well, I think obviously cost is number one. Getting people to understand the costs, and solar's picked up in popularity and acceptance as of late. So, I mean, people are more accepting of it. It's more of a common thing. So people are just like, hey, just give me the numbers and we'll see what we can do and move forward. But what I don't see often enough is people wanting to see proof of quality in the work. Like, they just want to get to the lowest price and sign the document. And while I can understand that mentality, we were working on a roof replacement this weekend, which was an absolute nightmare. So it's really not. Everybody's been so saturated with solar marketing. If you're talking to someone, they're probably interested to buy if you can answer their questions. So I don't see a whole lot of objections once you get in the door.
That's key because I think a lot of people do their research, and I think you're always going to have that segment of society that no matter what is just going to be anti something because it's fun to be anti something. And solar's a good thing to be anti for some people, even though it doesn't make sense. I get it. That's how some people are. So let's talk a little bit about you. You really just hit on something that struck a nerve with me, quite honestly. I was at a roof yesterday over here in Spring Branch, Texas, and the lady called because her roof had a leak. It had been raining super heavy for the last couple of days, and she noticed a leak on her back patio. Well, I get out there, and it's funny because we actually did the roof 4 years ago today. It's funny how time works. My
Yeah.
Facebook memory, that house shows up as my memory from 4 years ago today. And what happened was these guys went over there and they took these solar accessories. I don't even know what they were. I think they were for the pool. And they just basically took these giant bolts and just screwed them right into the face of the shingle. And it destroyed everything. And there's giant holes. And I think what happened was at some point they had to reposition it. They took one of the things out and they didn't even cover the holes up. So there was literally just an open channel. And at that point, you have to wonder, okay, that's not my responsibility. The roof didn't have a giant hole in it when it started. She can't now get a hold of the solar company because, surprise, surprise, they went out of business. So, what happens in a situation like this? And, you know, these are the things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. And I think as these solar companies continue to shut down, it's probably going to be more prominent. Do you see there being any kind of issues on your end as a provider, as an installer, as someone who's got everything that you need to start doing solar? Do you think there's going to be more of a pushback for the next couple months, years, whatever, just based on the way that things are going and the way that people are having these horror stories?
Oh, there's going to be, I think, significantly more oversight in the industry. I don't think it's going to be right away. This is kind of, I think, the last of the Wild West in solar, which I frankly welcome, because the job we were working on this weekend was the most dangerous job I've ever worked on in my life on a residential home. And the sad state of affairs is I see it all the time in Houston. When I've installed in several different states, and I have seen this is the least quality of work I've ever seen in my life.
Houston, okay.
Mm.
You haven't spent much time in San Antonio, I don't suppose, because I have a feeling it's even worse here from what
I,
I've seen.
I don't know, like the one we were on today or this weekend, they did a similar thing where they did lag bolts directly into the decking. And some of them you'd have 10 feet of railing with only two lag bolts. Some
Nice.
railing only had one lag bolt. Some were glued to the decking, or glued to the shingles. The electrical was done so bad that it melted some of the connections and caught fire in some places. And it's on like a 50-degree pitch. So like you're trying, and so the roof needs repaired now. So it's like being at the beach. There's sand everywhere. You're slipping all over the roof. It's it's hot. And you're trying to get these panels, they weigh 40 to 60 pounds, off of the roof. And with it being steep, you want to use footing. You want to put your feet on this railing. And it's not necessarily safe to do so. And if you do so, you might come right off the roof with that rail. And it was just a nightmare. A lot of harness and rope work, which made it take even longer. And the homeowner's in a bad spot, because this is, like you were saying, it had been repaired several times. There were several holes. The roof is wrecked. He's been paying and paying and paying. He had to get all new inverters. Like he
And at
originally,
that point, who do you blame? Do you blame the roofer because the roof's been leaking? Do you blame the solar guy because they screwed up the roof? As the homeowner, you just know that you're screwed. And it's like, dude, I don't care whose fault it is. I just need help. And
yeah,
I think that's the most helpless thing is when someone needs it and they can't find it because the culprit has left the scene.
yeah, we're actually working with a couple of different organizations to try to help come up with a plan for people that can't just shell out $15 grand to have a system taken down and put back up and do repairs on their roof. So we think with certain insurance companies, certain lenders, I'm trying to set up financing for these repairs in case people don't have the money for it. I already have one lender that will do so. So expanding that out is important.
Yeah, I think that is very crucial. And it's something I offer with the roofing is, we have financing options. Not everybody's got 20 grand to drop on a roof, and it needs to be done. So we need to come up with a solution. And I think that's a great solution. So let me ask you this: with everything that's going on with solar, with the way of the economy, with the way that things are going, is the tax credit, is that still even a thing? Is that something that people could still qualify for? Is that something that you can utilize as a tool to help within the transaction? How does this solar tax credit work for a homeowner and also for a company like Solityx? How can you utilize those opportunities to your advantage?
Well, the tax credit is still alive and kicking for sure. It's a 30% tax credit. It's for solar and necessary work for the system. For a long time, we were able to put roofs into that, and that was deemed not kosher by the IRS. So getting the tax credit on the roof is a no-go from here on. But yeah, boo. But I was talking to some people about reconditioning roofs too. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, where they come in and essentially treat and moisturize the shingles and give it a new warranty.
I've seen that product, and I'm not going to lie, it's very it's raised my curiosity in a couple cases, and I actually know the guy who is behind that product down in Florida, and I've talked to him. And it's something that I wouldn't be opposed to trying, but then I'm here in San Antonio and there is a vendor of said product. And I won't mention any names because I don't believe that the product is trash, but I believe that the installer or applicator is. And they're taking advantage of people that are like not mentally capable of making decisions. And they're putting this shit on their roofs, basically saying, this is just like a brand new roof. It's only going to cost you $6,000 instead of 12. They're taking $6 grand, spraying a bunch of stuff up there that's like a ceramic coating from what I was looking at. And to me, that's terrible. Now, under the right circumstances, I think it's a wonderful product. And I think if you can catch roofs before they get to the point of no return, rather than trying to return them after they've reached that point, that there's definitely a market for that. And that's something that I, as a roofing contractor, would not be opposed to, to looking into as well. If anybody wants to do some solar stuff and wants to do roof reconditioning or rejuvenations, holler at your boy. I got you.
Yeah, well, my thinking was, like, if the roof's like 10 years old out of like a 25-year warranty or something like that, it's not really time for a roof replacement, but I'd like to do something before I put panels on it. That's kind of what I was looking at that for. Not so much as like, oh, you got 5 years left on this roof, spray this on here and you're good. If you have 5 years left on your roof and you're not replacing it, like, you're just asking for water damage, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's just, if you're doing it to put solar on your house, especially, and you're making that kind of an investment, it makes no sense. But I will say this, I've seen it happen a lot of times. I've seen people get some beautiful looking solar systems on some horseshit looking roof, and it's always the roofer or the solar guy's fault. It's never the homeowner.
Yeah, and the homeowners, they don't teach what they need to know in school anymore. A lot of dads don't even know, what to tell people. You got these 30-year-olds, sometimes 20-year-olds moving into these homes, and they have no idea what they're doing.
It's kind of funny, but it's also kind of sad, because I'm from the generation prior to that. And it's like, I bought my house when I was 22 and I learned the hard way. Yeah. I didn't know about roof replacements. I didn't know about water heaters. I didn't know about furnaces. I didn't know about all that stuff until I got into the heat of the moment with it. And yeah, you learn. It sucks because nowadays it's easy to get taken advantage of, and people can smell that lack of knowledge and that lack of confidence. And again, I think that's where a lot of consumers get themselves in trouble, is that they're not as savvy as they used to be. We've got Google, but we don't have common sense. And sometimes Google doesn't tell you the entire story. So I get it.
We were working with this one group. We were working on a commercial project together. We made the sale, made the proposal, pitch, everything went fine. And then it came time to execute. We laid out the installer, we laid out the people doing the engineering, we laid out the procurement, we set them up. They got beautiful pricing. And then they decided to do everything different from what we set up for them. And it just totally tanked the project. And it's like, what they did is they Googled, oh, I'll Google an installer and get another installer and then make it cheaper. Oh, let me just Google procurement. They literally did that. They literally told us that they're like,
oh yeah, people are proud of that. And it's like, I tell sales reps when I hire them into the roofing industry, go to Google, type in, I need to replace my roof, and memorize the first 5 things you see, because that's all you're ever going to hear from people, because that's the extent of their knowledge. And you know, people won't come right out. Most of them won't come right out. I love your homeowners because at least they're honest and say, hey, we're jackasses and this is what we did. But people like to look at you like they're really smart while they ask you the most basic question. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to take that a step further. I'm actually going to explain in detail so it makes sense to you, rather than you just feeling like you asked me a good question because Google told you what to say. And I feel like with solar, you probably have a lot of opportunities to dispel a lot of those rumors and, you know, a lot of the things that people have misconceptions about with solar. So let me ask you this. When you present numbers to people, it's cut and dry. Like, you're not a bullshitter. You're just a straight to the point kind of guy. You're not trying to sell. You're just trying to help. And it comes across very clearly. So when you sit down with someone, you say, look, here's how much it's going to cost. Here's how much it's going to get you in return. Tell me a little bit about the conversation. How do you frame that? How does that work for you when you have someone that you feel is a good candidate to get solar? You're getting ready to do it. You need to explain to them why this is a great opportunity for them. What's the best way to go about doing that? And I say this because there are people that sell solar that watch my podcast, and why not get them a sales tip while I'm here, right?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, not to give too much away, because I do have a little bit of secret sauce in the sales process. But first of all, I make sure I have a good design. And there's a lot of people that don't even know what shade value. I'm talking like sales consultants in the solar industry. They don't even know what shade values are.
I would say most people that are in sales and solar probably don't know that stuff. That's what I'm saying is the problem is it's so basic, and it's the same mentality as roofing. Like, you can make millions of dollars, just go out and do it. And it's a canned presentation. So not to get off the subject.
No, it's fine. There's, tilt orientation factor and, all kinds of things that come into what you're going to get production out of the panels. First, if you don't have a good way of getting that, then you're really set up for failure. Once I have a good design, I basically just walk through them, walk through the house through the design, making sure that I didn't overlook any trees or anything that'll cause any shading, make sure they're not going to do any additions or, the house has changed in any way from the satellite imagery or anything like that. I usually do a walk around the property before I even do a design. And then I just show them you have 2 paths you're on. You can stay with the utility, or you can work with me and you can basically become your own utility. I'm going to give you a power plant for what you're paying for electricity, and it'll end up saving you money and adding value to the property. And that's essentially the conversation that I have. I'll walk through the numbers, walk through the design, show them why they're going to get this production, explain that we have a production guarantee. It's 90% because, you have a year variance, solar minimum, maximum, different weather patterns and such. But I also don't have cancellation fees, and I tell them that. Like, if you sign up with me, you're free to go at any time. I'm not trying to trap people. I'm trying to help them. I've actually paid cancellation fees at previous companies I've worked for because customers have wanted to leave and the company was trying to trap them, and I don't do that. And then I make sure that they understand everything. I've answered their questions. Sometimes you have to do a little digging to make sure you've gotten all of those questions, as you know.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I just tell them, like, this is whether it's a good project or a bad project. I'm like, this is a good or bad project, and I feel comfortable moving it forward, or I don't feel comfortable moving it forward, and I'll ask them how they want to proceed. It's not a real big fancy close or whatever. It's more of a gradual, like, slope up to the ramp of getting the sale. Like, I speak in very specific verbiage. I have a very specific process. And that way I don't have to do some sort of big hook at the end. You basically just, boop, and they're in the bucket.
Yeah. And you don't have to remember your story because it's the same every time. And it's just the truth. And that to me is going to be the separator from the pack when it comes to the solar world years to come. And
Yeah.
I'm excited. So I was just thinking about this. Okay, I had never been to a solar event of any sort in my entire life. Last month I went to the oh, look, you got a dog. Hey buddy, what's up?
I'm Alan. That's Delta.
Gotta have Delta in the house.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now I get sidetracked because I'm a
But
shiny object or dog kind of guy.
yeah.
Now it's like, Delta,
You're
you need to
talking
get your
about
face
RE
on
plus.
camera, buddy. Oh yeah, so I go to the solar event, right? And I had never gone to one before. I was wanting to kind of get a little bit more understanding of the industry because it does go hand in hand with roofing. Although I feel like there is like some sort of like strange animosity between the roofing and the solar world. I think we can all be friends, and I think maybe it's up to us to unify the two industries, and we can all have one big giant company picnic together someday.
Well, I
But
think
I
you
went
have.
to this.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, bad solar guys, can really piss off roofers. You're voiding out their warranties. You come in, like, we work a lot with roofers. They give us a lot of leads and things like that. But if I go in and junk up, their account, and sometimes these are referrals of like 10 or 20 people, different households, and then you go up there and do shoddy work, or you lie to them or manipulate them. I could see the roofers getting really ticked off about it. So, yeah, I've sold actually, probably about 50 or 60 roofs, just as a solar consultant. But I'm not super knowledgeable about it, but I know what not to do to screw up a roof or a relationship with a roofing partner.
Well, and that's key right there. And that's that's the most important detail of it all is just don't be a dick, That's all we ask. And it goes both ways because I know as a roofer, when I was there, that's exactly what I said. I was like, dude, I can just feel these guys think they're better than me. These guys, and it's like so fake. That doesn't even exist at all. We were
Good.
hanging out, we were eating lunch, we were having a great conversation, just having a blast. And I'm like, dude, you know what? Solar guys aren't so bad. Now, maybe it's just you and your buddies in your little circle, and the rest of them are all douchebags, but I was enjoying myself. And here we are on Keeping It Rio a month or so later discussing solar and whatnot because of that experience. And I have to ask that event that I went to there, it was called like Rev Plus or something like that.
RE plus.
Okay, yeah. And is that like the solar con? Is that like the holy grail of solar as far as events go? Is that like a regional event? What caliber of solar event did I make my debut at with RE Plus in Houston?
I
If
think
that
it's
question makes sense.
I think it's one of the bigger ones. Most people would just be saying it's categorically the biggest one, but there's some bigger ones, some upper comers, some lesser known ones where you actually get more business out of. in my opinion. But RE Plus is a great one. It's like a kid in a candy store for me. I love those things. Uh, and I think the difference is between the solar people is there's two sides to our industry. There's people that came here, paid their dues to get here. You want to talk about paying your dues? I went in like 2014. I left that cushy third-party consulting gig in oil and gas to go work in solar in Texas. Not a very easy road to travel. Family did not really understand the transition, but uh, like I got on the roof. I was almost 40 years old when I left that position, and I got tired of people asking me questions that I didn't know the answer to. So I went and installed for a little over 3 years, and I've gotten just about as dirty and entrenched in that side of it as you can, and I came out being a much better salesperson for it. And like I'm here to do the work. I'm not here to catch a check, which that's really the difference. My grandfather was an electrical engineer in Houston. He worked for Houston Lighting and Power, and so he designed the infrastructure in our city. His building plans are still in the Library of Congress. He did Galveston too. So whenever I put a system up and it turns on and it puts power into the grid, some of his infrastructure is still here. And so when my work meets his work, I don't want it blowing up what's left of his work because he's been gone for about 20 years. So the last thing I'm going to do is put in a crap system. And I get really bent out of shape when I see some of the work that I see. So
yeah, and it's easy to get pissed because you know that in a lot of cases, people are doing stuff that they know is not correct, but they don't care enough about it. And it is just about a paycheck.
honestly,
And
I think some of it is ignorance. I think they honestly do not know better. I think they've been told, and I think they've been trained by people that have been either lied to or trained improperly, and they may or may not even know they're doing something wrong, and they're just doing it wrong.
it's the world's biggest snowball. And roofing is the same way. You learn the wrong thing at a young age, and then you teach it to 5 people, and then they teach it to 5 people. The next thing you know, the wrong thing is what you're looking at as the right thing. And what I really appreciate is what you said about being damn near 40 years old and deciding, hey, look, in order to serve my people, in order to serve my industry, in order to serve the world, I need to go out here and learn this shit. And I need to get up on this roof and I need to install panels for multiple years, do multiple jobs. So that way you can go in and have a completely different perspective versus Johnny Doorknocker, who's walking up there saying, hey, we're in the neighborhood doing solar inspections or whatever. And
Yeah.
I can see where I always go back and forth with this on roofing. Okay. I've never installed a roof in my life. My hook to my homeowner is if I'm up on the roof installing the shingles, we are screwed because something has gone terribly wrong. Now, can I do it? Yes, I'm sure I can. I'm sure I can. I've gone to all the certifications. I've done all that. I'm sure I could do it. But that's not my thing. And I bring people into my industry, and I've had both perspectives. I've had guys that were labor that could go in and could sell a job that I can't sell based on the fact that they could say, look, I've been doing this for 15 years. Here's what we need to do. I've seen this a million times. And I think with something as intricate and detailed as solar, which admittedly is far more detailed than roofing, in order for everything to work together in concert and actually do what it's supposed to do, you pretty much know your stuff. You can't do a little test and let's see if the red one and the black one connect and see what happens. So yeah, have you found that with that experience that it makes your job not just much easier, but it's much more credible? And I have to ask you this, because with me, I've got these questions that I've developed over the years, and maybe you don't want to share this. I get it. 1 million plus people are going to see this episode, and maybe you don't want to give away your secrets, but are there any questions that you leave with a homeowner who potentially may be meeting with a competitor, and you say, hey, ask them what type of this they're going to be using, or ask them about how they're going to set this up or anything like that. With me, I do it with metal roofs. I've got questions to kind of sift out some of the pretenders. With your vast knowledge and your experience as an installer, do you have anything like that that you can utilize at the door to knock people out of the way and make your life easier?
No, I practice outcome independence. So I'm not trying to I'm not trying to make a certain outcome happen. I'm not one of those people that goes in, this dude's getting solar right now. You know, I'm not someone that makes people do things that they do or don't want to do. I go in there, I have a conversation with them, I explain things to them. Sometimes it's more in depth than others. You know, I've been in and out before. But by the time they are done speaking to me, they usually understand that I'm there to help them. And if somebody can offer them a better product or a better value proposition, I'm sure it's happened from time to time. I have lost some bids. It's not something that I lose a lot. I don't lose a lot of competitive bids. One is because I come in super chill, and then the homeowner is like, man, I much rather talk to this guy than the a-hole that would not leave my table until I made him get out of my house, which I've worked with those guys. I've been on the same sales team as those people. And they called me the lone wolf, not because I'm cool, but because I just was integrity and laid back. And, you know, I will talk to a customer one time, two times, 50 times. You know, I'll say, hey, if you're going to talk to other people, you know, I'll come back and we can look at all of the quotes together and we can discuss the various aspects of them. And if you just want an honest opinion about everything, I will give that to you. And I don't talk about equipment with the customer. If the customer knows about microinverters or panels or something like that, I'll bring it up and have a discussion with them. But if all they're looking for is a cheaper price for power, like, you don't need to talk to them about it. And some people are going to be like, my panels are better than your panels. And it's like, while that may be true, you know, you get what you pay for. So if you're going to spend the maximum dollar amount for the best possible panels, you're paying too much. You know, I never buy the most expensive thing. I never buy the cheapest thing. I buy something in the middle. That's where you're going to get your best value. And there's a lot of really good panels out there. We have some great inverter relationships. So everybody can get in phase. You know, everybody can get Solarc. You know, it's just like, if you're trying to set somebody up, be like, well, ask them what their panels are because it's a 0.2% difference or whatever. If they're going to put up a crap install, or
It doesn't
they're
make a
not,
difference then.
you know, if they're going to lie to you in some way, or if they're going to not do their shade values accurately, if they're promising you something that they can't deliver, if they're not going to support you for 25 years after the system, if they're not going to set you up for success, they're not going to build a relationship with you and see if your energy the energy needs in the home change, you know, these are not the people you should be working with. And if you're someone that just wants the lowest dollar amount for your solar project, you might as well get prepared for costs later on down the road.
Yep. I always tell people the cheapest roof always costs the most. And it's the same with solar. You know, you think you're getting a great deal, but 6 months from now, when something's not working and you can't get a hold of somebody and you're having a problem, that cheap bid doesn't work. And I tell my clients, if you call me back after the fact and you've made that mistake and gone with the cheaper guy, it's not my responsibility to get you out of that problem. It's my responsibility to solve the problem. But, you know, the fact that you made the bad decision is on you, and my price is not going to reflect that. So take it for what it's worth. The old saying is you get what you pay for. And boy, is that true, especially when you're dealing with stuff like this.
I tell people, like, I am not going to be the cheapest person you can find. I'm going to give you a good product at a good price. I say quality product at a good price. And I was like, that's how everybody wants business done. There's not enough of that done in this country anymore, and that's what I offer. And then uh, the the process after that is, we're going to audit the system and make sure that it produces the power that we promise, and we'll come out and add equipment if we have to. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Knowing that someone's got your back for the duration and knowing that someone's going to be in it for the long haul. And that kind of brings me to my next question is your company, Solityx, is relatively young, small company. You're getting your feet wet. You're getting out on the ground and you're trying to build something that's going to be huge. Tell me a little bit about your vision with the business. What's your ultimate goal? Are you coming to take over the world? Are you looking to dominate one specific market? What does that look like for Solityx for the next 5 years? Oh, there's a fruit fly. Damn it.
There you go. Miyagi, that stuff.
Live camera, baby. So what's the future of Solityx look like? 10 years from now, are you the solar mogul everybody in the world knows as, like the guy that started his company and took over? Or are you just doing it because you love helping people and that as that goes, it'll develop as it may?
The only thing that I would consider that would be like considered groundbreaking or something that I might be known for in the industry is bringing people together. Solityx is basically a focal point for a network of roofers, solar people, financing, manufacturers, distributors, marketing, all kinds of people to make connections. Being in the industry as long as I've been in the energy industry 15 years, count oil and gas, which I do. And the connections and networks that we have are pretty extensive. And so what we're doing is teaching and helping people to work together, to find a way to share resources, to share revenue, to share information without misinforming or misleading or screwing people over. Like I'm owed $80,000 by one particular company by itself, and I worked really hard for that company. Did a lot of good work.
If you would like to bust them out publicly, I am not ashamed. And Keepin It Rio can be the crime stopper of the world. Like
they know who they are.
Some punk ass solar company.
I'm putting good stuff out there. I've made my peace with them. But one thing I did want to say on our earlier topic is like when you're looking at the choice of like what solar company you're going to go with, like a roof, you have to have a roof. Can't not have a roof. Solar
True
panels
that. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, I know, right? I wish pretty soon solar panels might be mandatory, but which I know people will hate to hear, but you don't need a solar system, but currently. But I mean, we've heard about how the utility company keeps their equipment, what kind of condition they keep it in. We've seen, fires started from 100-year-old equipment. Lines are buried under the ground. They're not digging them up and relaying them. These things that are almost 100 years old or more in some places, the metal fatigues, the conductors fatigue, the insulators fatigue. This infrastructure is going to go out at some point in time, especially with high heat, drying soils. They crack things. I've had a lot of people's electrical go out just from the dry, cracking soil, same plumbing. Then we're going to get a lot of flooding. So this is not great for underground infrastructure. And with high winds, it's not great for overground infrastructure. And then, so if you want to be paying high prices for them to upgrade this equipment, or you want to be without power and have your food go bad and your family be, scared, hungry, cold, hot, alone, whatever, you don't need power on your house. But, if you don't want to go back to the Stone Age every time the power goes out, having your own power-producing power plant for less than what you're already paying for electricity makes a lot of sense. and your home can be more secure, your family's more safe, you save money, and if you get it done right, it can be one of the coolest aspects of your home, especially if you get one of those Tesla solar roofs that costs a ridiculous amount of money, which we've worked on in the past. I basically say that's like an Iron Man suit for your home. You get like a smart home upgrade, you get the armored roofing, you get the Starlinks, you get car chargers, energy storage. It's a ridiculous price tag, but it's the best of both worlds in that, and you get the tax credit on the roof.
Well, there you go. And that's a long-term investment. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong is I think that they get packaged a 20-year, this one size fits all type deal. And I think that if most people could sit down with someone that could analyze it properly and could show them the numbers and say, hey, look, instead of going that route and paying 30% for a dealer fee or, whatever you've got on that situation, you can go with one that maybe has a different interest rate, but it's a much shorter term. Maybe you pay a little bit of interest on this, but you end up paying the thing off in 6-7 years. And then you've got the benefit of basically having free utilities for the remainder of the life of that. And I think that a lot of people don't, I don't think that way, but I think a lot more people just go in, like you say, with that bare bones. It's going to be the cheapest thing you can possibly get. And that's the mindset that they take. And I don't know. It's gonna make for a lot of repair work for people of quality for many years to come. And hopefully it's not going to be one of those things that does a lot of damage to the industry and the reputation because, much like roofing, one or two bad apples can ruin it for the entire bunch. And we're just a bunch of good guys out here trying to fight the good fight, trying to help people and do what's right. And I love seeing it. So let's start winding down a little bit, my man. We're at 47. I try to keep it around an hour. So I got about 13 minutes worth of questions left. With the solar industry in general, what do you see as upcoming trends? What is your forecast for the solar industry for the next 5 to 10 years? Do you foresee there being any issues? Do you foresee it getting huge? Like you mentioned something about mandatory panels. What does the future look like in Josh's crystal ball when he looks at solar?
Well, I think they're going to be coming up with new financing regulations and options, which I'm kind of doing a deep dive in right now. I've been consulting for a few different financial organizations. I might even be setting up an in-home sales team for a financing company that finances their own projects. And there's going to be a lot of new players in the game. There's going to be some new technology coming in. I've been seeing capacitance storage, which has a lot of benefits. There's still research being done on that. We have a friend of ours that's a energy storage expert, is the only way to slice it, and she's done a lot of research on it. Says it looks very promising. But we're doing lithium ion energy storage right now. It's the most efficient. I think it's like 90% efficiency, which is about the same as a barrel of oil. So solar's coming down in price. Commercial projects are really revving up. I think the future is going to be finding how best to help the homeowner, and that doesn't mean selling like bloated systems. I'm more interested in making the home efficient and selling reduced sized systems.
I like it. So in other words, you're just looking to help the people and do the right thing. And I think we need more of that in this world. So kudos to you, my friend.
Yes,
Let's say that we've got some people watching this. We've got homeowners. This is definitely not a roofing podcast, although I am sponsored by Roofer. Thank you, roofer.com, my wonderful sponsor for the last 2 years. But I have homeowners. I have people from all over the world that watch this show. And let's say that somebody's watching this right there. You go. See, we love Roofer. Let's say that somebody's watching this. It's a roofing contractor in where are we going today? You and I were speaking of this place a couple days ago. So I'll say, let's say I'm a roofer in Montana. And I'm watching Keepin It Rio because everybody in the state of Montana watches Keepin It Rio. It's a known fact.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh, we've been wanting to do solar. We've been wanting to find someone reputable that we could partner up with. We want this guy's services. How can the homeowners, how can the contractors, how can the people, the general population that need your services, that need to save money on their energy bills, how can they find you and how can they follow you, my friend?
Well, I got Solityx.com set up. That's a website. We got Facebook. We got LinkedIn. Um, that's pretty much the best thing to do. We do info@solityx.com is our email. Josh@solityx.com is my email. I can even put together some contact information to give that to you if you need it. If we can send that out or whatever, if anyone needs it.
Nice. All we're trying to do is get the world the savings that they deserve. And I feel like you're the man for the job. I feel like you've taken it on and you've got your head down. You're going full force into the world. And this man will save hundreds of millions of dollars for people over the course of the next 20 years. I guarantee it. And I don't know if there's any way to prove that or not, which is why I say it so freely. But he's going to help a lot of people. So, okay, Josh, we've wrapped up basically the podcast now. Here's the last question I have for you. And this is a personal question.
Sure.
When I came to Houston last month, I came down there with my friend Jeremy DeBoard, who is a public adjuster with West Group. And he's also a solar guy. He's been in the solar industry. So I wanted to meet some solar people. I got an opportunity to come down there. As part of this, there was some really good amenities. Uh-oh.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
We're all good. There were some great amenities as part of this solar event. And one of which was I got to have dinner with you guys. We got to hang out. We got to chill. And then we were going to go to the Houston Astros game. And the last time I saw you, you were actually being escorted off the property of Minute Maid Park by security. And I always wanted to know what happened after you were basically not granted access into the Houston game. I apologize for not being a better friend, but I didn't know anybody there. And I felt like I had to go into the game. I probably would have got robbed outside in Houston. But what happened after this tragic event where you didn't have a ticket? We thought we were going to get you in without a ticket, like the big baller ticket, but it didn't quite work out. So as I'm watching my friend walk away and I'm going into the game, I did feel bad around the 7th inning. And I told your friend Rick, I was like, man, did we do the right thing? And I think we both felt like we did and that you wouldn't be upset with our decision. Although I did want to, throw a chair through the glass door and cause havoc. Tell me a little bit about the experience. What happened to you after the tearful goodbye at the Astros game? And I'm glad to see that you found your way out of it and that you're okay. But how was that experience?
After I got a few feet from it, I tried to fight my way back in. Got arrested. No, I'm just kidding. We actually went to a different event and actually met some really key people, and it actually was quite beneficial that I got kicked out of that because we're working with a company now to make a pretty amazing synergy and agreement with I don't even know what all it'll do, but it's going to bring some really big things to the markets we're in and maybe the industry.
See, there you go. Houston Astros, look at what you did. You were trying to ruin this man's day. You were trying to treat him like a common criminal that was just trying to get into a ball game without a ticket. I mean, it happens. And look what happened. Good karma. So There you go. I've never been an Astros fan, and this just solidifies that point, and it says the Houston Astros have helped you indirectly by not subjecting you to the game, instead throwing you into the street where you randomly ended up in a different party, and now you're doing business. So here's to random parties that you just walk into sometimes and make yourself right at home. And hey, what's up, Houston?
Best parties.
Exactly. So Dude, Josh, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have enjoyed our 54-minute conversation here.
Likewise.
I appreciate you taking the time to chat about solar. It's one of those topics that I don't know enough about to really have an intelligent conversation. So I appreciate you carrying the intelligence side of this deal for the last hour. And anybody that's watching this that wants to work with Solityx, I don't communicate or deal with jackasses. I only work with good people. I only have good people on Keepin It Rio. And there's a lot of people that can tell you that they've asked to be on my podcast that have been denied entry because I don't want to have jackasses. So if I have someone on my podcast, they're high quality. This is a guy that's in solar. He's an expert. If you want to get into solar and you want to work with someone that's reputable, that's doing it for the right reasons, here's your opportunity. And that is what this episode of Keepin It Rio is providing our world.
Well, I really, really appreciate the non-jackass seal of approval. That's great. I'm gonna go tell the wife that. That'll shock her. Get some shock.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna cut a reel. I'm gonna publish. This is gonna be public knowledge that you are not a jackass. You're not screwing things into the face of shingles. You are on the same crusade that we are. Down with the bad solar. Only good moving forward. And we're going to do another episode of Keepin It Rio a little bit further on down the road as I continue to get a little bit more involved with solar as well. And as we always end our show, the most corny and cheesy ass tagline of all. First off, everybody that's watching, thank you. Thank you to my sponsor, roofer.com. I do have a 20-second ad, but I'm not going to play it today. I am going to thank them, though, for being a sponsor for the last 2 years and for everything that Roofer does for myself and for Rio Blanco Roofing and Restoration, which, by the way, is not just San Antonio, but it's all of Texas's greatest roofing company. I say that with complete confidence because I don't lie. And if I'm saying it's the best, it's the best. So until next time, don't forget, like, share, do all that cool stuff, subscribe. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget the most important aspect of this entire world, and that is simply to keep on keeping it Rio. Until next time,